If you made a list of the toughest things to learn as a new pilot, you may need multiple pages with the massive learning curve involved. If you ask 1,000 new pilots which things made them most nervous, I would bet one thing would be near the top of the list more often than not. Radio communications, specifically with air traffic control. A lot of times VFR pilots are not even required to speak to ATC, and sometimes they are. Depending on where you're flying or planning on flying, you may need to key up on an ATC frequency. Or you may just want to use the service for peace of mind, which in some cases is exactly what it's there for. Let's dive into the relationship between VFR aircraft and air traffic control. Let's go wheels up. It's a beautiful day, clear in a million. You woke up early and decided to get some hours behind the yoke of your favorite 172. You're at an airport in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, and you just feel like doing some pattern work to keep your landing skills sharp. Is it necessary to talk to air traffic control? Is it necessary to talk to anyone at all? You just want to enjoy the sky in peace by yourself. In this case, the need to talk to air traffic control is null. There isn't much of a service ATC can provide you staying in the pattern at an uncontrolled airport.
Traffic Skyhawk 45 Charlie Oscar, taking runway 12 for departure, staying in the pattern, Goodman.
The radar coverage most likely isn't there for ATC to provide separation, and the radio coverage may not even be good enough at such a low altitude to keep communications. In this scenario, you'll most likely be your own eyes and ears and communicate with the other traffic at the field via the CTAF frequency, or Common Traffic Advisory Frequency, sometimes just referred to as advisory frequency. You will be broadcasting your position and intentions on this frequency to any other aircraft who may be at or near the field. Or there may be nobody listening, and it's just you and your 172.
Goodland, traffic Skyhawk 45 Charlie Oscar, turning left, crosswind, runway 12, Goodland.
If you're behind the yoke of your favorite 172 but parked at a towered airport with an open air traffic control tower, you will need to talk to clearance delivery or ground control in the tower before taxiing your Cessna onto any movement areas of the airport.
Riverside Ground, Skyhawk 45 Charlie Oscar at TCC Radar Services westbound.
Skyhawk 45 Charlie Oscar, Riverside Ground, maintain at or below 2,500 until advised, squawk 0203.
Maintain at or below 2,500, squawking 0203, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar.
Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, runway 1 right, taxi via Alpha 1 Hotel, hold short, runway 1 left, monitor tower.
Runway 1 right via Alpha 1 Hotel, hold short, runway 1 left, monitor tower, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar.
If you are planning on doing pattern work at a towered airport, you will be in contact with the tower at all times.
Skyhawk 45 Charlie Oscar, Riverside Tower, cross runway 1 left.
Cross runway 1 left, Skyhawk 45 Charlie Oscar.
When in the pattern, you will need to receive a clearance every time you want to take any action that involves descending on final to the runway, like landing, touch and goes, stop and goes, low approach, or full stop taxi bags.
Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, winds calm, fly runway heading runway 1 right, cleared for takeoff.
Fly runway heading runway 1 right, clear for takeoff, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar.
These towered airports are inside Class Delta airspace and for the most part have certain operating hours. When they are closed, the airport becomes an uncontrolled airport and CTAF is used for communications with other aircraft. If you just want to depart VFR, you will get your clearance to taxi and another clearance for takeoff. Then you will be cleared on course if you weren't already in your initial clearance.
Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, resume on navigation.
Resume on navigation, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar.
Remain on the tower frequency until the controller gives you a new frequency or approves a frequency change, which in most cases will be once you are leaving the Class Delta airspace.
Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, contact Kansas City Center 128.8.
128.8, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, we'll see you.
At this time, you can contact the surrounding airspace's controller to continue flight following. Or if not on flight following, you can also just maintain VFR and not speak to any controllers, assuming you are not transitioning Class Bravo, Charlie, or Delta airspace. If you do wish to transition Class Charlie airspace, you'll need to establish radio communications with the air traffic controller who owns that Class Charlie before you actually enter the airspace.
Skyhawk 45 Charlie Oscar, 3 miles west of Skycheck, 2,500, requesting transition class Charlie en route to Riverside Airport at 3,500.
Skyhawk 45 Charlie Oscar, Tulsa approach, squawk 1412 in IDEN.
Squawk 1412 in IDEN, Sky 5 Charlie Oscar.
Two-way radio communication, a working transponder, and ADSB out are all you need for permission to enter a Class Charlie, unless the controller tells you otherwise after communications have been established.
Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, radar contact, maintain VFR at or below 3,500, Tulsa, altimeter 29902.
VFR at or below 3,500, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar.
If you get no response from ATC or a standby without a call sign, you must remain outside the Class Charlie.
Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, verify you have information Romeo for Riverside Airport.
You have Romeo, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar.
If your destination is within the Class Charlie lateral boundary, once you are near the airport, the controller will terminate your radar services and approve a switch to the CTAF frequency of the airport, or transfer you to a tower frequency if it's a Class Delta.
Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, Riverside Airport, 12 o'clock, 10 miles, report the airport in sight.
Riverside Airport in sight, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar.
Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, roger, radar services terminated, contact Riverside Tower 120.3.
Over to Riverside Tower 120.3, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, good day.
If you are just en route transitioning to Class C and leaving the airspace at altitude, the controller will terminate radar services or transfer you to the next controller's airspace and frequency if you continue flight following. Class Bravo airspace surrounds some of the busiest airports in the world. Entering a Class B can be intimidating for new pilots or even veteran pilots, especially if you're flying solo. There are many more restrictions for flying in Class Bravo airspace, including restrictions for what type of pilot you are, as well as additional equipment restrictions beyond what is required in Class Charlie or Class Delta. We will save the details of Class Bravo restrictions and procedures for another video, but let's talk about radio communications with ATC.
Denver approach, Skyhawk 45 Charlie Oscar, 8 miles east of Erie, request flight following to Akron, Colorado.
Skyhawk 45 Charlie Oscar, Denver approach, squawk 1402.
Squawk 1402, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar.
Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, radar contact, altitude indicates 6,500, cleared into the Bravo airspace via radar vectors, fly heading 070, Denver altimeter 29902.
Altitude checks cleared into the Bravo airspace heading 070, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar.
To enter a Class Bravo, you must be cleared into Bravo airspace by the air traffic controller who owns that airspace. Establishing two-way radio communications, like Class Charlie airspace, is not enough to enter a Class Bravo. In a Class Bravo, as a VFR flight, you can expect vectors to miss arrival corridors and IFR or VFR traffic. These airspaces are generally fast and busy, so be prepared to listen closely and make quick and clear transmissions. This is really a good practice for all communications in an aircraft, but especially within a Class Bravo.
Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, resume on navigation.
Resume on navigation, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar.
Entering Class Bravo with a good trainer or fellow pilot who is familiar with the airspace is extremely beneficial in learning how to handle flight through this busy airspace. Don't be scared though. As long as you do your research and know you are legal and cleared into the airspace, the controllers are there to assist you in your flight. Most of the time as a VFR pilot, you'll be operating below the Class Bravo altitudes. In this case, flight following will also be beneficial. Requesting flight following with an en route controller is laid back compared to what you witnessed in the Bravo. If you want flight following on a cross-country flight, the en route controller is your friend. You can find the appropriate en route frequency on your VFR sectional, AFDs, or on Foreflight, SkyVector, and many other apps and websites. Just key up, say your call sign, position, and your request.
Denver Center, Skyhawk 45 Charlie Oscar, 10 miles east of Goodland, request flight following.
Skyhawk 45 Charlie Oscar, Denver Center, squawk 1433.
Squawk 1433, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar.
It is good practice to say your location on your first transmission because most en route controllers will have multiple transmitters for a single frequency and need to know which transmitter to key up on to give you the best chance of hearing them.
Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, radar contact, altitude indicates 6,000, say your destination.
Altitude checks, we are headed to Clay County Regional. That's Golf Papa Hotel, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar.
Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar, roger, I'll show you on the course to Golf Papa Hotel, maintain VFR, Hill City, altimeter 29902.
Maintain VFR, copy altimeter, Skyhawk 5 Charlie Oscar.
A lot of pilots don't wish to speak to ATC flying VFR if they don't need to, and it's completely understandable why. Flying through the open sky, just you and your Skyhawk engine humming, is a tough feeling to beat. Why ruin that moment with a bunch of radio chatter? But remember, ATC is there as a service. It's there for you and your safety, so don't be afraid to use it. The air traffic controllers will be glad to hear from you.